Hello, everyone, and welcome to Depression to Expression. My name is Scott, as you know, and we have a guest on the channel, Mikhaila Peterson. This has been a collaboration I've wanted to do for a long time. Here's a little clip to show you. She was on the TVO network, The Agenda, with Steve Paikin. Here's a little video right there. There she's with her dad, Jordan Peterson, and they were on that a few times, and I watched that years ago. And then recently came upon it, and I said, oh my gosh, she was on there, what was it, 2016?
2016, yeah.
2016, talking about the new diet she's now on, treating her autoimmune disorder and depression, and this is obviously a mental health channel, so I thought she could come on and talk about her new diet and how it's really treating her mental health in a positive way, and the autoimmune disorder. Did I get that right? Were those the two big things?
Those were
the two big things. Okay, so Mikhaila, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Okay, so I guess starting from the beginning, what's your history with mental illness, with depression, and what was the treatment that really helped so much, without going into too much detail because we'll talk about the diet later, but what's the history there?
So, I was formally diagnosed with depression summer of grade 5, so that makes me, I think, 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wasn't happy. I was very unhappy, and I guess mostly angry, and I was having nightmares, and I was having some, like, obsessive, compulsive stuff going on, so, reorganizing all your books in your bookshelf from like A to Z, and then by author, and then by like type of book, and like late at night as a kid, and that I did for no reason. So that kind of stuff. And it was not a good time. And Dad recognized it as depression because he has it, and it runs in our family. So my grandpa has it, and my great grandpa had it, and it's this like horrible, severe depression. And he looked at me and thought, okay, she probably has it. So we went to a psychiatrist, and they gave me antidepressants. So I was on, I think I started with Prozac, but switched over to Celexa fairly quickly. And that actually helped like a huge amount as a kid. I can remember starting them and then just relaxing as if I'd been like holding myself in like a rigid position for a really long time. So that helped a lot. And I took those until I was 23. And unfortunately, like, they helped a lot, but the depression was still there. So obviously it's not a cure. So it got worse as a teenager. So when I was 14, for whatever reason, I had this, dip, and my mood took a turn for the worse. So then I upped the antidepressants. And then when I was, 18 or 19, it happened again, and I upped the antidepressants. And then by the time I was like 20, I moved away, went to university, and whatever the antidepressants were doing something, but the depression was so horrible that it just wasn't enough. So I tried switching antidepressants. I tried adding on another one, and it just wasn't, compared to not being on antidepressants, it was better, but it was horrible.
Right.
So that's kind of the background with the experiences with depression. And then I had like a plethora of other health problems, which I'm sure like many people with depression do. And it was like autoimmune problems. So I had or severe arthritis, enough that my hip and ankle were replaced when I was 17. So like bad times. And then chronic fatigue that hit when I was 14. So the same time when my depression got worse. I got really tired, and like tired passing out, like not passing out, but falling asleep in class like at around 11, and then napping in the afternoon. And I was just napping all the time, and that just got worse and worse and worse. And I had skin issues. And then when I went away to university, I gained weight, and it wasn't like the freshman 15 that everyone gains. It was like the freshman like 35 in a really short amount of time.
Okay.
And so that's also when I was going to the gym more, because I was like, got to counteract this somehow. I'll just work out more, which did not help. Mm-hmm. And then I started looking into food.
So, that's a long list of... And so, autoimmune disorder, what does that really involve as far as symptoms?
So, like, the main symptom for the autoimmune disorder I had, so I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and then that diagnosis changed to idiopathic arthritis. So it was just arthritis, basically. And so that was joint pain, joint swelling, and joint deterioration. So that was the main symptom for that autoimmune disorder. And then people with autoimmune disorders also generally have a whole bunch of other symptoms that are like minor in comparison. So fatigue is a really common one. Having rashes, mouth ulcers, like those kind of things are commonly associated with autoimmune disorders as well. And mood, obviously, like that hits a lot of people with autoimmune disorders too.
Right. So you're 23 years old, or not now, but you were 23 years old when you stopped the antidepressants, or when you started to look into diet more?
Oh yeah, I definitely did not stop the antidepressants before figuring out the diet.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there were I couldn't get off of those things. I was getting side effects, so I tried tapering them down, and it was just so awful tapering them. Like, the depression would come in stronger. So I was like, I'm on these forever. I'm never going to stop taking them. I actually started looking into diet because I was starting to get really bad skin problems. So I was getting rashes, I was getting acne, and then one winter, I got something, like my skin stopped healing properly. So I had these this is just horrible. It was horrible. I had these sores like here, just around that wouldn't heal. And I went to see some like doctors and dermatologists, and they basically said, well, it's not bacterial. We don't know what's going on. And I was like, holy shit. Like, this is really bad. Not only is it on my face and everyone can see, but this is not a good thing. And then it slowly, this was at Christmas, and then my birthday came around, so that's January 4th, and it slowly healed. And I was like, okay, don't know what that was about, but whatever. So then I'd been looking into it before, trying to figure out my weird skin problems, because I'd also had this thing show up where I got little tiny blisters on my fingers, and I had one person tell me I was a hypochondriac. I was like obsessively Googling these blisters I was getting. And someone said, stop being like such a hypochondriac. And I was like, I physically have blisters. This is not hypochondria. So anyway, I started looking into rashes and whatever, and I finally found this weird rash I was getting, and it was associated with celiac disease. And it took a lot of Googling to find the right rash, and I went through a lot of horrible Google pictures. I finally found this celiac rash. So that's celiac disease, the autoimmune disorder where you can't eat gluten.
Right.
And causes gut damage. And anyway, I did my 23andMe, and it turns out I have the celiac gene, so it was possible. I never actually did the biopsy that confirms it because I don't want to do that, and there's a very high false negative.
And for the viewers, 23andMe is what?
23andMe is just a genetic testing you can do. So you basically spit into a vial and send it off, and they decode part of your genome and show you some of your genes and give you kind of an overview.
Right. And is that like more for health reasons rather than ancestry?
They do both.
They do both.
Yeah, they get into the ancestry part, which is really interesting.
Cool. Did you find out anything with that?
Shocking?
Yeah.
Oh, we totally did, actually.
You a quarter Jamaican, or?
No, I'm not. That would have been more interesting. But what we did figure out was we thought part of my family, my grandpa, so my dad's dad, his parents were Norwegian. But it turns out he's like half Scottish. So his dad actually wasn't Norwegian, he was Scottish. So that was,
That's cool.
Yeah. So that we did figure out some interesting ancestry stuff.
Yeah.
But I did see the gene for the celiac, and so I cut out gluten. That was May 2015. Because I was like, okay, well, what if I don't have, like, what if the arthritis is the celiac disease? Because autoimmune diseases can, like, they can clump up. People can have multiple autoimmune disorders.
Right.
It was like, maybe the arthritis was celiac disease. So I cut out gluten. And it didn't do that much. Like, my skin issues probably calmed down by 15%. But it didn't really solve very many of my problems. So then in September, my mom brought me to a naturopath. And she'd been trying to bring me to naturopaths for, like, decades. And I'd been Like, no, they're just taking advantage of sick people and taking their money and giving them false hope.
Right.
That was
right.
my
Okay.
opinion of naturopaths.
Right.
I went to a naturopath and they said, well, try an elimination diet, and they give me this list of foods, and I kind of looked at the list of foods and didn't really make any sense. I didn't know anything about diet at all. I just, like, you couldn't eat oranges, but you could eat lemons. I didn't really understand that, and there were just a whole bunch of things I didn't get. So I tried it for about a week and then was like, it's not doing anything. And I made myself gluten-free, like sugar-free, banana, almond flour muffins.
Yeah.
And I had a couple that night. And I woke up in the morning, my wrists were really stiff. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, maybe it does have something to do with the arthritis, right? But then I had a couple more of the muffins because the muffins were really good. My wrists were that stiff. And then 2 days later, I couldn't walk. My knees were in such bad shape that I couldn't walk. And I was in the grocery store and my knees locked up. And I was like, whoa. So then I cut out, like, everything I could cut out. And I went down to chicken and... Actually, well, it's not as restrictive as I am now. But I was eating rice, chicken, beef, fish, root vegetables, but not potatoes, and green vegetables. So I cut out a lot. Like, no dairy, no gluten, pretty much no grain except for rice. I was still eating eggs at that point.
Okay. And this was while you were still on Celexa. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because trying this
So,
out. And
yeah,
right.
I had stopped. So before I realized the gluten thing, I had stopped taking my arthritis medication because I wanted to monitor my flare-ups.
Got it.
Going gluten-free. So I wasn't taking my arthritis medication, so those immune suppressants, but I was still taking Adderall, Tylenol-free for the arthritis pain, birth control. I was on antibiotics for my skin, and then antidepressants. I was still on a whole bunch of medication at this time. I also didn't think that the diet had anything to do with depression. I thought maybe I could use it to fix my skin and the arthritis.
Right.
But depression, it didn't even occur to me that could be a diet-related thing.
Yeah.
So I went on that, and most of my problems got, 95% better within a month. And it was like my skin was finally clear. My arthritis wasn't there. And this was like a month after eating. Just fairly restrictive, but not like now.
And that was the elimination diet that the naturopath recommended?
No, that was a stricter one.
Oh, okay.
So the one they recommended, I tried for a week and then didn't think it was working. And then when I realized there was something to do with food there, I kind of made up my own and cut out some of the foods they had included.
Got it.
That I didn't really understand why they had included. Like, I cut out all the fruit.
Okay.
I'd heard from somebody that we've known since grade 2 that oranges gave me flare-ups, but we just left it at that, and we're like, that's weird.
Yeah.
We just won't look further into that. Like, I don't know. So I cut out all the fruit. Anyway, after like a painful trial and error of trying to reintroduce things and getting these flare-ups and having my skin break out and getting like itchy and arthritic, in December, so that was in September when I had started it. In December, or like late November, I started feeling like my mood was better. And that never happened in the wintertime. Like, it always got worse. Yeah. My mood started getting better, and it got better and better and better. And I was like, okay, this is good. And so I tapered down the antidepressants, which I'd never been able to do. And I went off of them completely, and it was like the best I've ever felt. And so I told Dad, because he has the same depression, and I was like, holy shit, what if this is diet? Like, you have to try something too.
Yeah.
So that was December. I was off my antidepressants, told him to go on it. He went on it. And then I reintroduced soy, because soy was like one of my favorite foods, and I put soy sauce on everything.
Yeah.
And I had the worst depressive episode I've ever experienced. Like, for like a 3-week period, it came back. And it wasn't just mood. I ate a whole bunch of I like made my own miso soup so that it was gluten-free and everything. Mm-hmm. And then I ate a whole bunch of that, and tofu and edamame beans, like soy in every form. And then I got a huge stomach ache. I spent like the next hour in the bathroom and was like, okay, so my body doesn't like soy. Fair enough. And then 4 hours later, I got itchy everywhere. So like a allergic reaction, itchy. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then the next morning I woke up and it was like, I could feel the depression coming back, where it was just like a cloud of doom came in. And I like stood in the shower and cried and was like, okay, this whole food thing was just me being hopeful. Like, obviously it's nothing. And then it just got worse and worse and worse for like the next week. It was just horrible. But like, part of me, the logical part of me was like, well, the arthritis did lift. It's never lifted in my entire life. Like, and then for absolutely no reason other than the fact that I ate all this soy, it's back like hell the next day. I was like, this is probably food, but it was really hard to convince myself that was true. Anyway, for the next year, I basically went up and down, trying to reintroduce foods, having these horrible reactions, getting better, trying to reintroduce another food, horrible reaction, getting better. Yeah. So that's been my experience with food.
Okay.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Is it working?
Oh yeah, thank God. We do everything. Come back Sunday.
So 2016, yeah. So I'd done the previous TVO thing where I'd gone on and said, antidepressants were a godsend, which they were.
Right.
And then I went, and then it was like, holy shit, maybe diet has something to do with it. So I went back on, and that was February, and that was when I tried to reintroduce whey. So I was doing way better then than I had been in the previous video, but I was still not doing particularly well because I was in one of these stupid reactions.
Right.
So that was, 2016. And then I spent most of 2016 trying to reintroduce other foods because, like, you miss eating foods. So, I tried to reintroduce all my favorite foods. Like, soy was first, sugar.
Yeah.
Cheese. And then I tried just whey protein because I was like, that would be easy in the morning. And then I don't have to cook all the time because I was just cooking all the time.
Right.
And I was used to eating out all the time. So that was 2016, and then...
So, sorry, with the experimentation, say you introduce cheese, how do you know that how long of a time period before you're like, nope, can't eat cheese because my, depression came back or my arthritis is back? Is that within the 24 hours that you know? Or?
It depends. So, if you know within 24 hours, it's going to be a nasty reaction. So, like, the soy, I knew that night, that was bad. Cheese, after not eating dairy for a month, I lost my lactose tolerance. So I got this huge stomach ache, felt like I was going to die. And then I tried to reintroduce cheese when I was still on antidepressants. So in, like, October, it was one of the first ones. And I was, like, crying the next day, which now I realized was because my depression worsened. But I thought it was just because I realized I couldn't eat cheese, and I was really upset about not being able to eat cheese. Cheese is yummy. That's what I thought at the time, but now I know it's because the depression worsened. But it depends. If I ate a whole huge quantity of something, which is what I was doing at the beginning, because I was like, hey, if I can't eat this, might as well go out with a bang, then I was getting reactions, the next day.
Okay.
But then I started getting, testing smaller and smaller amounts because I realized how sensitive I was. And sometimes it could take up to 4 days. So that complicates things a lot, which is why I had to space out the reintroduction so far. Because it was like, I'd eat something, I'd feel okay, and then the next day I'd feel a little worse, but not enough to be noticeable, and it wouldn't really hit until day 4.
Okay, got it.
So it made it complicated, and complicated to explain because it sounded like some sort of conspiracy theory. And then the arthritis sometimes would take up to a week.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I
you had to keep
I had a journal.
It was all journaled, because if you have the flare up 4 days later, okay, what did I eat 4 days before type of thing?
And it wasn't just that. It was when the depression came back, so did all the doubts about whether this was a real thing. So every time I'd have a reaction, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm just following some weird conspiracy and this has nothing to do with anything. But then it was always the same period of time and it would lift again. And it was a long time. Like, these were 3-week reactions that the depression would come back, and then it would go away again, and then it wouldn't come back until I reintroduced something. So I could see the pattern, but it was just so hard to believe that it was good I kept a journal.
Right. And geez, 3 weeks of that too.
Yeah,
of...
it was rough.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as rough as thinking that I was stuck with that forever.
Okay.
Like, there was still, I would count down, like, the days, and then it would get better.
Yeah.
And I was less tired. Like, my fatigue had gone away. So that was a huge thing. And my skin was better than it had been. So there were benefits. And the depression was going like this instead of just solidly. So...
Right. But if we rewind a bit, because that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That is a lot of work. And was the first motive for you to do this, was that because of the skin part when you first looked into this, right?
Yeah.
But then just minor improvements kept you going and experimenting through the next, year and a bit?
Well...
Because that's so much... I'm saying it's incredible. It's so much effort, though. Like, what kept you wanting to do more research and keep this journal and introduce
skin.
food? It was
so
skin.
It was, like, purely looks-based.
Yeah.
I was like, I can, maybe I can handle severe depression and a whole bunch of medication, and maybe I can handle an autoimmune disorder, but frickin' my skin, too? Like, I can't do those 3 things. Oh, yeah, and the chronic fatigue. Like, I can't do 4.
Yeah.
I can do 3 things. I can't handle 4.
Right.
I was like, I can't do it. It's too much. I have to fix the skin thing, or, like, it was just emotionally and physically, it was too much for me to handle.
Okay.
It's like, I have to fix one of these.
Yeah.
So that started me going. But then when I realized maybe the celiac disease, maybe that was causing the arthritis. I mean, obviously you want to get rid of the arthritis too.
Yeah. That was like a huge bonus on top of the improved skin then. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, let's follow this trail and see how far it goes.
Yeah, and it didn't, I didn't even expect the depression to have anything to do with it. It just randomly happened in November. So it was almost like 7 months after I stopped eating gluten.
Oh my gosh, we're almost out of battery. I fully charged that baby. I hope that didn't... If that cut out, I'm sorry. In regards to the diet that you're on now, I don't even know, do you even call it a diet anymore? It's really just a lifestyle of...
So what? You're not up to date in this.
What's the secret? I'm not up to date in this.
I'm actually only eating meat. Yeah. That's kind of the face I was expecting.
Hold on.
So I'll explain a little bit behind that.
Yeah, for sure.
So
that's awesome.
I had this original elimination diet, and it was pretty much greens, sweet potatoes, apples, pears, and meat. And coconut oil, like apple cider vinegar. It was very limited, but it was still very well-rounded compared to just eating meat. And I was doing really well on that. And then I got pregnant, and something changed, and it stopped working as well. So I was still doing better than I was pre-diet, but I wasn't at that, like, my depression is gone, like it was. And it took me almost a year to figure out what was going on because that diet had been working. And then, step away from that for a bit. So I had put Dad on this diet, which was the same, sweet potatoes, greens, meat. That's about it. Mm-hmm. And he lost a whole bunch of weight. He lost like 50 pounds in the first year. And he'd been trying to lose weight for a
50?
while.
Okay, healthy 50 pounds.
I mean, I have people being like, that's not healthy. But yeah, he's like at a normal weight now.
Exactly.
But it was just fast. And it was, I guess it was kind of scary for us too, because it was fast. So he lost a whole bunch of weight. He stopped napping. He had some psoriasis that cleared up. And I would say his depression lessened, but it didn't go away, and the anxiety didn't go away fully. Okay. And for some reason, it just didn't go away fully for him. It helped, but not like it helped my mood. So anyway, we'll leave that be. So then this diet stopped working for me, mm-hmm. and I started cutting out more and more and more things, and I was eating more and more meat because I don't know how I knew. It's like I can't be allergic to chicken. I don't know.
Yeah.
So then in like frustration in December, I Googled like allergic to everything, which is something I'd Googled multiple times before. Uh-huh. And I came across this lady who'd been diagnosed with Lyme disease like 20 years ago. And the only thing she was eating was meat. And she could control her Lyme disease by only eating meat. And the reason I hadn't tried that before was because I thought I was going to die of scurvy like in the first month.
Right.
So I didn't try it, but I saw that she had only been eating meat for like 18 years and she was fine. Yeah, 18 years. And then I thought, okay, screw it. Like, I'm not... I just got a taste of what not having depression was like. I'm not going back into it.
Right.
If I hadn't had the taste, it would have been okay, I guess. But, like, I knew what that was like, so I needed to... Anyway, I stopped eating everything other than meat December.
Okay.
Yeah.
2016 December.
No.
Or sorry, 2017, sorry.
2017 December.
Okay, so this is fairly
recent.
fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when you say only eating meat?
I mean, water, sparkling water, salt.
Okay,
I still eat salt.
Yeah.
And beef. I'm eating
beef.
I was eating chicken before. I'm not anymore.
And fish?
No.
No fish.
Just beef. I think beef makes me feel the best.
Okay.
I know how strange it sounds, but it's working.
There's a lot of good stuff in beef.
Apparently.
That's a very scientific answer. There's a lot of good stuff in beef.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff
okay,
in beef.
but that you've gone through that experimentation of fish, and then you did chicken and pork.
No, so I always stayed away from pork. I stopped eating pork in high school because I felt bad about the pigs.
Pigs, yeah.
So I stopped eating pork in high school.
Okay.
And then Dad did some food sensitivity tests, and pork showed up high on his. So I was also a little... It didn't show up high on mine, but I also hadn't really been eating it. Mm-hmm. So I was a little wary of pork anyway. So I just didn't bother with the pork.
Okay.
Yeah.
So strictly beef.
Strictly beef.
Now, please check out Mikhaila's Instagram. Great stories if you're looking for some sweet beef recipes. But so on a breakfast... Do you do 3 meals a day? Eat 3 meals a day? Okay. So I'm looking at your Instagram, and you're cooking up a steak for breakfast. So what does your what kind of does your daily intake of meat look like?
So ribeye is what I generally like the best, which I'm pretty sure most people like the best. Mm-hmm. So and it's really fast in the morning, so I'll fry one of those in the morning. And then I could just eat ribeye all the time, but it's expensive. So we have ribs, hamburger, roasts, and then I make jerky on Saturdays so that I have something easy to grab.
Right.
All the time, yeah.
And as far as hunger and cravings of other foods,
Nothing.
I show you some sour keys I have here. You don't want sour keys.
Sour Patch, I always really liked Sour Patch, but no. So I had cravings on the first elimination diet I did.
Yeah.
The cravings were way less than what I used to just get normally. Before any diets, I was hungry all the time. Even if I had just eaten, I was hungry all the time. So I used to have cravings all the time then. So even with the first elimination diet, my cravings went down, but they never went away. I'd say with all meat, they're virtually gone unless I go out and have a couple of drinks. That's the cheating thing I'll do sometimes.
That's the human condition right there. Oh, yeah.
And then I'll get cravings the next day.
Oh, the next day, not while you're drunk. Or...
No, and I mean, the consequences to cheating are so high for me that I don't, there isn't an option.
Right.
I'm not spending a month arthritic and depressed.
For one Twinkie.
No, thank you.
For one Twinkie.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
No.
Not worth it.
No.
Okay, so that is the diet. That is simple. Time consuming though, or no?
Not at all. Not compared to cooking before. I mean, even so, a steak that's 15 minutes, right?
Right.
Frying it on the barbecue, it's even easier. Although I don't have a barbecue right now. Ribs, I don't put anything on them. You just put them in the oven, then you take them out. It's way easier than even just eliminating the salad that I had been eating. Saved a whole bunch of time because I don't have to chop anything. It's really easy.
Okay, so there's definitely other people in the world that do this.
Yeah, so this is the other interesting thing. Okay, well, first I'll tell you, my mom went on it right away because she has arthritic knees. And it's not like an autoimmune disorder like what I had, but osteoarthritis in her knees and her hands. And she hadn't been able, she'd been on the diet I had put forth, the first elimination diet, and it hadn't eliminated her symptoms. Mm-hmm. So she went on all meat a couple weeks after I did, and her arthritis cleared up. She went skiing in March, and she hasn't skied in 7 or 8 years. She's going hiking in Croatia next week. Yeah. So her arthritis cleared up. And then last week, no, 10 or 11 days ago, I put Dad on the diet because the elimination diet just hadn't been. He was down, he'd cut out the sweet potatoes because we realized they were, for whatever reason, maybe too much sugar or something, they were making the depression worse. So he was eating meat and salad. And I said, honestly, it's not like we're eating foods that are super, meat's fun to eat. Everything's fun to eat. But it's not like we're eating, pizza or something that you're cutting out. What's the difference between eating meat and salad and just eating meat? And there is a difference, but I was like, just give it a try. Maybe it'll clear up the last of your anxiety, because he was having horrible anxiety in the mornings and just in general, and he was fairly volatile. Mm-hmm. And so he went on it, and he feels significantly better, and it only took him a couple of days to start feeling better.
And he started that 11 days, you said 11 days ago.
Yeah.
And from, a few days he felt better, and now
he's getting better and better.
Better and better.
Yeah, yesterday,
and just beef, sorry.
Oh, no. He's eating chicken and fish and beef.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but no veggies or anything else?
No veggies.
So just the meat part, but the fish and... Okay.
And he feels better. And he's going like, can this really have been the vegetables? Like, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he's feeling better. And it didn't take him long, but I think the reason it didn't take him long was because he was so close to that already. He was just eating
That's
salads.
Right.
But
what the heck? What are we giving? We're giving science the middle finger here.
No.
What happened to leafy greens? What happened to omega-3? Your body and brain especially needing those omega-3s. Or does beef? I thought that was mostly fish and nuts and everything like that.
I don't know.
Omega-3s.
I don't know what's going on.
That's like...
I got desperate, right? Because I was like, I seem to be reacting to the salad. Mm-hmm. So what do? If I react to salad and I don't react to beef, am I just going to eat beef if I die? Like, or am I going to die? Like, what if I'm just doomed to react to the foods I'm eating? But it turns out you can just cut it out. But there's whole, like, groups of people, like, thousands of people doing this. It's called zero carb.
Yes.
Yeah, and there are tons and tons of people, and obviously it's mostly anecdotal, but with really good results, especially for people who are really sick, like shocking results.
Yeah.
So I'm getting some flack online for telling people maybe you could try it for a bit and see how you feel, and then you can try to reintroduce other foods and see how they make you feel, but at least you're at like a baseline.
Absolutely.
I'm getting some flack for telling people that, but I was in really, really horrible shape. Like, I had, multiple surgeries, and the depression was just... I wasn't going to make it for very much longer.
Yeah, yeah. How can anyone argue with your testimony, and your own experience and the results? You can't argue with that.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty awesome of you to share this and create the blog and show everyone what you've done. Do you have, so you just moved into your new condo, do you have like a shrine, a cow shrine?
I really
should. Because cows, that's your shit.
Thank God for cows.
Thank God for cows. But not the milk. The milk, that's probably bad.
No,
even
I have
anyone,
a horrible reaction to dairy.
Yeah, it's dairy and gluten those are big inflammatory
those were the
ingredients.
worst. Well, soy was really bad for me, soy too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, on my blog I recommend, like, the least you can do for your health is get rid of the gluten and the dairy, and then, if you're not even sure about it, get rid of it for a month, reintroduce it back in and see how you feel. Mm-hmm. But yeah, those are the two bad ones. So I'm definitely... A lot of people on this zero carb diet eat just animal products. So they'll eat a dairy, dairy and meat. And that would definitely not work for me.
Right, okay. But they won't do pasta, cookies,
no.
crackers, sugar, all of that stuff. Okay. This could be a simple answer, but since you're doing, this beef-only diet, and you've completely... Oh, sorry, so let's go over this first. You've completely come off of all medications?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I haven't been taking medications for quite a while. Like, so... A year and a half is the last... Oh, no, that's not true. About a year ago, I started getting seasonal allergies. I'm still allergic to everything. Like,
right.
the meat diet hasn't cured my allergies. I still experience them. So during the pregnancy, I had just terrible seasonal allergies, and I tried to take antihistamines. Turns out antihistamines have lactose in them, and so then they made me depressed. And I was like, so now I'm allergic to the outdoors, and I was really allergic, and I can't take these stupid antihistamines. So that was the last time I took something. So that was a year ago. But I mean, actual like prescription medication, it's been quite a while. So yeah, I haven't been taking anything.
And so that's no medication for arthritis,
no antidepressants.
depression, antidepressants. And so with
no Adderall. I'd been taking so much Adderall to stay awake.
Oh, to stay awake.
Yeah, it wasn't
Not
for focus. No.
Focus.
It was for hypersomnia.
Okay. There's that new documentary on Netflix called Take Your Pills, and it's all about Adderall and college students in the US. Yeah. I had no idea it was such a big thing.
Oh, really?
Not for people like who actually need it for ADHD or ADD, but like just to study. Everyone's taking this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really effective. Like, like I was taking it to stay awake, but man, can you focus? But it's focused to like a obsessive level.
Okay.
Like, it's also very useful if you need to clean everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I was just so surprised how many students.
Yeah, lots of people. When I went to Concordia, lots of people were taking it to write essays and things.
Right. Right. So back to the diet, though. Does knowing that diet, in your case and many others, has helped your depression so much and everything you've experienced mood-wise, does that make you almost not anti-pharma, but question that whole business of antidepressants?
No. No. The antidepressants, first of all, if you tell anyone that their depression is going to go away if they only eat meat, that's the end of the conversation, right? No one is going to... You're just going to get laughed out of the room. It's like, take the most ridiculous diet you can and say that's how to get rid of your depression. It's really unfortunate because it really works for me. It works for my dad. It works for my husband. He's doing it. Okay. He had severe depression.
Okay.
There's thousands of people, and they're anecdotal, obviously, but it's working for them, but it's ridiculous sounding. So, am I anti-pharma? Like, no, because antidepressants helped me. I am a little pissed off that when you go to medical school, they don't teach you anything about nutrition. Or they tell you, eat your whole grains. Yeah. And, like, make sure you drink enough milk so your bones stay healthy. Like, that was a horrible trigger for the arthritis.
Right.
Like, that wasn't useful. And I used to just drink... I drank so much milk. I ate so much dairy. It was horrible.
It's still so we're almost out of battery. I hope we don't get cut off. On Mikhaila's blog, it's like the food pyramid's a lie.
Yeah.
Are kids still taught that food pyramid of whole grains at the bottom and dairy?
And dairy, yeah.
But, well, that's a whole Canadian dairy industry thing to say that you still need dairy for healthy bones.
Yeah. I had a friend who just went to the doctor, and the doctor asked if she was getting enough milk for calcium, and it was like, really?
There are other things. Broccoli has so much calcium, spinach... Right?
Yeah, I know. It's strange. So, no, I'm not anti-pharma because, well, hell, if I hadn't been on all that medication, keeping me, half alive, I wouldn't have been able to come to the conclusion that diet would help. Like, the Adderall was a godsend for keeping me awake. That being said, if diet had been maybe more looked into originally, I wouldn't have had to go on the medication.
Right.
But, no, I'm not antidepressant. Antidepressant.
They did help you.
They did help me a lot. But I am annoyed that you get laughed at when you mention nutrition at a doctor's office. Like,
yeah, you
could at least look into that a little bit more.
Right. There was I did a video. I'll upload it. I'm not sure when, but on the agenda, there was a segment called last week, "The Science of Antidepressants," and 80% of prescriptions for antidepressants go through a family doctor, not even a psychiatrist. So it's almost like you'd have no time to talk to your family doctor. You have like 15 minutes. They want to do something when someone comes in with distress. They automatically, they have to help. Like, here's a script. This could make you feel better. It is difficult to ask the questions and analyze diet and give kind of go deeper into that.
Yeah, and
people need to take responsibility if they're able to look into different things like this.
Or people need to be told that it's an option. Like,
Right.
I always assumed, I had people come up to me when I was depressed and say, well, have you looked at diet? And it was just like, fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think I do? Sit around eating candy? And that's causing my horrible depression? Or like something I'm doing wrong is causing my mental health. You get a lot of that when you're depressed. Like, maybe you don't exercise enough.
Yeah.
And it's like, thanks. Yeah, it's me, and that's what's causing my problems.
Right.
So I think if we somehow could switch the conversation from diet being something that you're doing wrong to, some foods maybe causing a depressive reaction, like that's a different thing. Like if I eat a tiny bit, if I cheat, once a week, my depression doesn't go away, right? But so it's not really something you're doing wrong. It's just people just don't know.
I love that. Yeah. It's not putting the blame on the person suffering, saying you're eating the wrong things, but
yeah, I hate that. You're already suffering. You go to somebody, that happened all the time at the doctors. You go to someone for help and you go like, these are my horrible symptoms, and they go, oh, here are 3 things you're doing wrong.
Right.
Like, thanks. That's why I came here.
Oh my god.
Probably sleeping too much.
That's right.
Eating the wrong foods and not exercising. And if I turned those around, things would be fine.
Yep, completely fixed. That's why the mental health and mental illness is so complex. And you're not saying that a meat-only diet, if everyone did this, depression cured, like this is a full cure, or are you saying that?
Like, I don't know.
Or are you just advocating, hey, experiment, try some
experiment.
elimination, like
Experiment.
get rid of dairy, gluten, see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if between me and you, if I were to try this meat only
solidly for a month,
Yeah.
I think you'd see insane benefits.
And
I can, like, there's a website called meatheals.com,
Okay.
and there are anecdotal reports of people going on the carnivore diet, zero carb diet, and there are crazy stories on there, and there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reports, and normally I wouldn't believe something like that because it's so strange, but I've experienced it, and my dad has experienced it. Like, his anxiety is gone, and I couldn't get it under control with just eliminating, my elimination diet, which was very strict.
Yeah.
And he never cheated, right? And he's not exercising. Like, it's not something else. It's not like some stressor in his life just lifted. It's the diet.
Right.
So
It's
I don't
not
know,
like you
it's
weren't
weird.
it's not like you weren't meditating and
Yeah.
this was pure diet.
Yeah.
So the last part before a battery dies, which is such a damn shame. Any other things that you do? Other diet was like a huge piece, obviously the biggest, but anything else you do that keeps your mind sharp, that keeps you mentally well, that you kind of want to tell people here?
Well, so now I would say, okay, yeah, I guess. So, like, no, not really. Most, like, it's diet.
Mm-hmm.
But if I do end up reacting to something, using an infrared sauna really helps me feel better. Exercising does give me a boost. So if I do have a reaction, I'll exercise. I'll make sure I'll exercise every day because it gives me a boost, or multiple times a day. The infrared sauna helps. What I used to do before, when my depression was really awful when I was in university, is write. And that helped a lot because then, you get those flares of, like, I used to get them anyway, extreme anger where you want to, like, punch something. I could write until that had calmed down. So that's what I would use. But honestly, I'm in, like, really good shape now, so I don't use much.
Awesome. And for the last comment, for those watching, many on the channel, I love you all. Many have diagnoses, many struggle with depression and anxiety and haven't told anyone.
Yeah.
And you come on with your dad on TVO years ago, and then just 2 years ago, and are really open about how you struggled with depression and these physical illnesses as well. Why did you do it? Why was it, not easy for you, but any advice to people who are having trouble opening up about these things and not seeking help?
I think it was harder for Dad to tell people than it was for me, because I'd been telling people for almost my whole life. Dad had a harder time. I think if there wasn't so much, I guess stigma is the right word, or blaming the person who's depressed for being depressed, that would be easier. But I guess I would say you're not doing anything wrong, right? You're extremely unfortunate that this has happened to you, but it's not your fault. Mm-hmm. And it's bad enough to suffer from a mental illness than to also think this is my fault somehow. So about getting help, like, yeah, talk to people. Yeah. It helps. And try not to talk to the people that are going to tell you.
Right.
You're just lazy, and that's why you're depressed.
They have all the answers, some people. Yeah. And I guess that's part of depression to expression, too. It's like expressing yourself in positive and healthy ways, but there is not, a lot of the time, one fix-all for a lot of people. Like, some people, writing doesn't do anything for them, right?
Exercise didn't do anything for me.
Right? See,
like,
there you go.
I tried it. It helps now. I can get a boost from it, but I'm not like I was.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't help at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've been telling people that you struggle with depression since a very early age, but was that honesty and openness, was that how you were raised? Like, how did that come more naturally to you? Because some people, it's all internal and they won't tell a soul. Was that kind of what your parents taught you, to seek help or to be open with your thinking?
How did I get there? Like, when I was first diagnosed with arthritis, so that was grade 2, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want anybody to know. And then in grade 7, I stopped caring for some reason about the arthritis, about the depression. I was just like, I don't know what happened. I guess I just decided, it wasn't my fault. And I guess I had told enough people slowly, and they hadn't cared, that I was like, oh, people, generally speaking, and I've had some bad experiences, but generally speaking, don't care. Or they'll say, you'll say, I have this, and they'll go, oh, my so-and-so has whatever. So maybe I'm just lucky and didn't get a whole bunch of bad feedback. Maybe it's that. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I mean, it's not like I opened up to someone and they immediately said, this is your fault, here are all the things you're doing wrong, and then I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to tell anyone else about this anymore. Right. So maybe luck.
Yeah. To have that first bit of experience and people not caring as much as you thought they would, in a good way.
Yeah. So I would say probably that. I'm not sure. I just didn't care. I didn't care. And if people did give me hell, it's just like, fuck you. I generally write about what's going on. So I started when I was on this elimination diet. So I had recipes for, that elimination diet I was on, collard greens, broccoli, just different ways to make food that way. So it's a lot different now that I'm just eating meat. And the better I feel, and the more testimonies I get from people saying, I cut out all the rest of the vegetables and now I feel better. I don't really know what to do because, well, I don't know. It's hard for me not to tell people to give it a try because it made me feel so much better. Yeah. But it's just so out there. Like, you get flack from going gluten-free. You get a hell of a lot more flack from being like, don't eat vegetables. Anyway, so the blog has that. It has testimonies on there from other people who've had benefits from cutting certain things out of their diet. So there are more and more people who've just gone to meat, writing their experience down.
Awesome.
And it has updates about my family. Dad's on there sometime.
Yeah. Well, he's everywhere, though.
He's everywhere. Yep.
Yeah. If any of you came to see Dr. Peterson, just YouTube his name, and you can probably find a lot of
videos.
Yeah, for sure. Mikhaila, thanks so much. And everyone, take care. Don't forget to subscribe to Depression to Expression, and look at the links below to see more of Mikhaila. Boom.
Cool.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for having me.
That was really interesting. I'm so glad I didn't look at the latest version of the diet.
God, I was like...
Because that is shocking.